what's going on, guys? So this week's episode of Gotham has continued the Is Barnes Bane debate, and I'm getting a little tired of it, although this episode was pretty awesome, seeing him rip people apart and throwing them through walls and shit. But I still don't think he's going to be Bane, and Gotham has the perfect opportunity to make him another character right now, and I hope they do that. But before we get into that whole topic, let's go ahead and talk about the love triangle that is Penguin, Nygma, and Isabella, because oh man, it's getting saucy. So we see Nygma and Isabella looking all lovey-dovey, having breakfast together and shit, and then she puts on some spectacles, and those spectacles remind Nygma of Miss Kringle, and he starts freaking the fuck out, and he goes to the mirror and starts seeing her, and she's all talking to him, and he's losing his shit, which leads him to going to tell Oswald, and Oswald's all like, because you know he's all a jelly belly and shit, and he is all loving that Nygma is like hurting and doesn't, you know, he's like, I can't break up with her, can you break up with her? So you know Penguin is all like, yes, bitch, I love you. I will totally break up with your girlfriend so I could be with you because I love you so much. He's a totally jealous boyfriend right now. But anyways, so we got Penguin all jelly and he's gonna go break up with Isabella. He goes to break up with Isabella and freaking she totally calls him out. She's like, you're in love with him too, bitch. I can see it in your eyes. I ain't even jelly like you're jelly, Penguin. Control your jelliness, you jelly belly. I think I want some jelly beans right now. Anyways, Isabella's all like, you know what? I'm not gonna freaking give up on Nygma because he loves me, and I can see that you love him, and I can blah, 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 whatever. So she basically tells Penguin that she's not gonna stop trying to go after Nygma, and she's gonna write to him, and she's gonna do everything, and that makes him even more jelly, because he's all like, oh shit. From there, she freaking tells Nygma to come on over to her house, and when he shows up, she's cosplaying as Miss Kringle, and oh man, if you guys know anything about me, I got a sweet spot in my heart for cosplayers. I love cosplayers, and to see Isabella cosplaying as Miss Kringle, I was like, oh shit! She does this to prove to Edward that he wouldn't hurt her because he's freaking in love with her and shit, and he puts his arm around her throat and starts kind of choking her, and then they start making out like, like, what? This girl likes to cosplay as Miss Kringle, kinda likes to get choked. I don't really know if that's her thing, but man, she is going all out for the love of Edward Nygma, and Penguin gotta be over here trying to ruin that shit? Come on, Penguin. Oh, but it doesn't end there. It does not end there at all, because we see Edward all happy-go-lucky go back to Penguin and say like, oh, everything worked out with Miss Kringle, but she's still gonna go to her conference because I insisted. Penguin's all giddy. His henchman comes in with some freaking pliers or wire cutters, and he's all like, did you do it? And he's like, yeah, boss, but you know, I always had a thing about librarians and stuff. And we end up seeing a scene where Miss Kringle is driving her car, and she's trying to hit the brakes, and there's a train coming. How freaking Penguin freaking planned a train being there on the same street? I don't know. Magic, apparently. But we get the idea that Miss Kringle has died by getting hit by a train because her brakes were cut from freaking Penguin. So Penguin has just killed freaking the love interest to Edward Nygma. So the love of Edward Nygma and Isabella Miss Kringle cosplayer is over. But is it? What if on the next episode we freaking find out that Miss Kringle, aka Isabella, or Isabella, aka Miss Kringle cosplayer, is actually still alive? What if she was able to turn her car, or she was able to miss the train, or something happened that she's still alive, and freaking Penguin's about to confess his love to Nygma in his time of grief, and she shows up and she's all like, he tried to kill me, Nygma. Oh shit! That would be an amazing storyline for this show, because that would set up Nygma versus Penguin, because Penguin loves Nygma, but Nygma loves Isabella, and freaking Penguin tried to kill Isabella, so now Nygma hates Penguin. Like, that would be such a good little feud. And a lot of you guys were in the comments were like, maybe she's gonna be Echo or Query, who are two of like Nygma's henchwomen in the comics. That would be awesome. I didn't even know about those characters because I've never read an issue with them in it. But if she were to turn out to be like his henchwoman and they were to be a crime like syndicate together, that would be legit. And they could be trying to fight Penguin. Penguin's trying to fight them. Blah, blah, blah. It's this whole little love triangle. That would be a good storyline, Gotham. You could write Freaking hire me already! Before we start talking about Barnes, there were a few other things. We saw Barbara crash Lee's party, kind of talking about how she loves the freaking, like, edginess of Gordon, and that's why she loved being with him. She asked that to Lee. Lee says she's happy being with this other guy, although she's probably fucking lying, but whatever. We got to see Gordon return to the GCPD, and he started working with Barnes again, and freaking Bullock or whatever, and he's the one that's basically going to end up catching freaking Barnes, as we saw on the next episode. But, well, I don't know if he's going to catch him, but he's going to start being Gordon versus Barnes. But another cool thing was we saw that freaking Barnes and Falcone or whatever, his son, freaking Falcone's son, the fiance too, what's his face, punched Gordon, and Gordon was like, you know what, I'll give you that one punch for Lee. But man, Gordon is going to knock the fuck out of that guy, or he's going to kill him or whatever. Although, I'm telling you, I think that guy is going to become part of the Falcone family. He's going to take that name after Gordon snatches Lee back, or something like that. It's going to happen on their wedding day. I'm calling it right now. When they're going to have the wedding, something's going to go down. Gordon's going to show up to save Lee. Falcone's going to get all pissed, and he's going to take the Falcone name at the end of the season or something like that. I'm calling it right now. That shit's going to happen. Now, let's talk about Barnes, because like I said, we've been dealing this whole is Barnes Bane debate for a long time. I still don't think he's Bane. There's not enough there to believe that he's Bane. Yes, he's got super strong and he's got veins, but Bane is so much more than just strongness and veins. Like, there's just so much more to the character, and I don't think Barnes is going to be Bane. I will say that this is getting pretty interesting, and they could make him another character that we'll talk about in a little bit, but let's just cover all of this other shit first. So we saw that Barnes is starting to succumb to the rage. Like, it's just overpowering him. It's getting stronger. And we saw that at the beginning of the episode where he rips that guy limb from limb. Freaking Lucius Fox said that he ripped the dude's head off his body. And he said you needed to be like super strong to do that. Ripped a dude's head off of his body because that guy was the cleaner. He's the kind of guy that burns people's bodies and shit so you never find him. Really weird occupation, but hey, if it pays well, right? Kids, don't get into that profession. Anyways, so he kills this guy, and we see Barnes go from being the good cop to the bad cop, and he's basically now joined Jim Gordon. And Jim Gordon, that could lead to something later on, maybe Gordon sympathizing with him because Gordon has killed too, although his guy came back to life, so he's kind of didn't kill anybody anymore, although it's still on his conscience. His guy came back to life, so he's kind of got, like, you know, a refund. I don't know. Barnes is fucking crazy now, and he's all about killing or beating the shit out of people. We saw him go find the Toad, or whatever that guy's code name was, beat the shit out of him and his cronies, and was all like, take me to the Doctor Man. And the Doctor Man, oh, this is where Gotham kills me, because they could have had the perfect little Easter egg / new character to the show. It wouldn't have been a new character, but they could have worked out some stuff to make it be a character from the comics. And this is what I mean, because Barnes was going after a doctor that cut people's faces off. Why does that sound so familiar? Who got their freaking face cut off? I don't know. The Joker in Scott Snyder's Endgame, he got his face freaking cut off by Dollmaker. But no! They didn't use Dollmaker. He's already been in season 1 or 2. I think it was season 1 of Gotham. He was already in season 1. Was it season 1? I think it was season 1. We saw the Dollmaker. That's where Fish Mooney went to. He was that doctor. They should have brought him back and kept the face freaking cutting off storyline together. That would have been amazing, because you know that we have Jerome gonna be the Joker someday. It would have just been cool to know that the doctor that cuts faces off was in the damn show and still alive, and it would have been the Dollmaker, because that's who it is in Endgame. It would have just been a nice little freaking Easter egg of weaves and turns and things. And oh my god, Gotham, that is what is wrong with your show when you have a guy that doesn't believe superhero shows work on TV running the whole show. Fox, just give me the money to run this show. I'll take half of his salary. I don't even care, and I guarantee you I can plan it out a lot better than he does. That dude obviously doesn't know about a channel called the CW that has awesome, amazing superhero shows on it. Homeboy is killing me. Anyways, I can't recall if freaking Dollmaker died in season 1. But even if he did, you could bring him back as the sewn-up Dollmaker, because in the comics, he's actually a person that has sewn his own body together, and he's made up of a whole bunch of different parts, and we saw that he was able to do that in the show. He could just, even if he died, he could come back or have put himself back together and even been more of the doll maker, which would have been so much better, and he could have been the guy that cuts off faces, but no, they had to go with this Dr. Simeon or Simon guy. But that name still got me a little excited because Dr. Simon usually goes by Dr. Hurt, is in this comic too, and he's part of like the Grant Morrison era of Batman. But he was Dr. Simon. He was actually a big part of that comic. And, you know, he was kind of a decent character in the run of Grant Morrison comics. But he was also kind of known as the Devil. And so that could have been this character too. But they didn't do that. They just they took the name Dr. Simon. It could have been Dr. Simon Hurt, which would have been a deep cut into the comics. But they totally didn't do that. And then, of course, we saw at the end of the episode, he got thrown from a building and smashed into a car and died. And this is just, I kind of wish Gotham would have just done this properly. Like, come on, Gotham. Flash does it. Arrow just steals everything from Batman. But the Flash does it really well with deep cuts from the comic. Like, you're on a bigger network. You could make this shit happen, but you have a terrible showrunner right now. And this is probably why I'm never going to run or write on this show, because you guys, I'm talking so much shit about the showrunner, but seriously, Gotham, like, freaking, you could make this show a million times better, and you guys aren't. Anyways, back to freaking Barnes. So Barnes went and talked to Mad Hatter, and as he talked to him, of course, he got all mad, and he told him, which Mad Hatter was totally happy with because he's the Mad Hatter, but Barnes got all pissed. He went into rage, and he told him, he was like, what makes this happen? He's like, it's your darkest desires. He's like, what makes you, what makes your blood boil? And it's freaking criminals. So we know that about Alice's powers. Alice's freaking blood causes the worst things for people to imagine. Like, I guess the thing they hate the most to come out of them, and that is what they rage about. So if Mad Hatter ever spreads that across the city, you'll see people freaking out about a bunch of shit. If somebody hates cheese, they're just gonna want to kill cheese all the time. But anyways, so apparently that is what the blood does. So he does that, he knows there's no cure, so he freaking just wants to keep doing this shit. Like, and then freaking Mad Hatter tells me, he's like, have you heard the voices yet? Just wait until you hear the voices. And we see that towards the end of the episode when Barnes is freaking looking at everybody that he's just pissed off at, and their faces are going all to death and shit. And I was like, whoa, that's a terrible Snapchat filter going on there. And Barnes tells Gordon that we're gonna turn over a new leaf in Gotham and we're gonna make this city safe again or whatever. That is crazy. And we saw the previews to the next episode where Barnes and Gordon are basically going to go at it, and they're having this whole like debate, which is really interesting because now they have switched sides where Gordon is fighting for good and Barnes is fighting like by any means necessary, which it was just last season where they were both flippity-floppity. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen on the next episode. Before I get to my final thought, did any of you guys feel like maybe Barnes is a symbolism for police brutality in America right now? Because, maybe some police get so mad that they just shoot people because they're tired of it. And, it could be symbolism going on in the show right now about what's happening in America. I don't know if Gotham would get that deep into the show, but it's possible. Also, another thing, did you guys think that Barnes was going to commit suicide? It came across my mind when he told Gordon, he was like, oh yeah, that's a totally different killer for, I forgot his name, Peabody, or it wasn't Peabody, it was something, Penny Toad, or I don't know what that guy's name was, I completely forgot. But he was like, I'll bring him in tomorrow. I thought, and he put his gun and his badge on top of the table. I thought maybe he was going to commit suicide or something because he was like, he knew there was no way out of it. So I thought he was going to kill himself, and that would be him turning himself in. He also wrote his will and testament, remember that. So I thought he was going to kill himself at the end of the episode, or could be killing himself in the future. But we'll see what happens there. Now to who I think Barnes could be, and I might have said this in a review already, or I definitely said it on Twitter, but I don't know if I said it in a video already. I think Barnes should be the character Lockup, and Lockup comes from the freaking Batman animated series. If you guys can watch that episode entitled Lockup from the Batman animated series, it's a really solid episode, but if you watch it, the character is perfect for Barnes. Like, he hates criminals, and he wants to make sure that they stay locked up, hence his name. And he's a big dude, he's super strong, and it would just work for freaking Barnes. And I mean, I'm telling you, like right now, the storyline would be perfect. because he's a police chief right now or whatever, and then of course he has these powers, and Gordon's probably gonna arrest him and they're gonna send him to Arkham unless he kills him or whatever. But it would be perfect for Barnes to go to Arkham because he's all about keeping criminals in line, and if he goes to Arkham, he can be like, you know what? I'm gonna settle all these people in here and keep them in line even though I'm in here. So he can start beating the shit out of people in Arkham and try to keep them in line, which is what he does in the cartoon. Just watch the episode. You will think he is perfect to be Lockup, and I think that's who he should be. In Gotham, if you're smart, you would do that. Don't make him Bane or anybody else. Lockup would be perfect because it fits the personality of the character. He's not really a big character in the comic books like Bane or Riddler or Penguin, so changing his identity would not be a big issue, and I think it would just be perfect to have Barnes turn into the character of Lockup. He could be in Arkham, he could eventually break out of Arkham or take over Arkham like undercover and you wouldn't even know, and he's just keeping it in check. It would just be really interesting to see Barnes turn into a character like that. It would be, again, a deep cut into freaking... That was a terrible gesture. I didn't mean to do that, kids. Don't do that. It would just be a deep cut into the comics and to the Batman animated series, and I think that's what Gotham is missing, and that's why Arrow is so good, and Flash is so good, and Gotham could beat the shit out of both of those shows. I don't know how you feel about those guys, but if it was written and directed better and the showrunner cared about the show, it would be so much better. Just, oh man, I wish it would kind of get canceled and just move to CW. Like, if CW could pick it up and just take it over, it would be so much better. But I don't think they could afford the people that they get on this show. Oh my god, this show could be so good, guys. And if they're changing stuff like Penguin sexuality and stuff, then why can't we bring in other characters? They obviously have no problem changing stuff, so we shouldn't have an issue bringing in other characters. And just like, you know, I don't know, this show could be so much better, and that's what pains me every week, and I'm like, oh, it's so easy to connect, why don't you do this shit? But whatever, I'm not the writer, I just wish to be. Also, I do want to point out real quick before I go is I can't have my cake and eat it too. As I was talking about the whole Penguin Kringle thing, like, I'm upset that he killed freaking Miss Kringle, but I want badass Penguin back. So I'm just like, I gotta live with the... I'm really hoping they go with the storyline where Miss Kringle didn't die, because I think that would be a really awesome storyline. But if she is dead and Penguin killed her, I'm just like, fuck you, Penguin! Like, what the hell? But I wanted him to be badass Penguin again. So right there, guys, you can't have your cake and eat it too. He's doing badass things again, so I can't be upset. But it's just like, it sucks, you know? You can't always have things work out exactly how you want. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share with all your Gotham buddies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all things nerdy and geeky on this channel. As always, guys, I am your host, JUICEbox. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I had my daily dose of juice? See you guys next time.